10 men, 5 targets, 176 dead. A brutal 60-hour siege paralyzing a heavily guarded megacity. When we see violence on this scale, we often assume it is a spontaneous outburst, a moment of unpredictable, chaotic rage. But the 26/11 attacks were the opposite. This was a highly disciplined, military-style operation, planned and executed right under the nose of oblivious authorities. The world watched for 3 days as billowing smoke rose from Mumbai's most iconic landmarks, signaling a total breakdown in urban security. It leads to a difficult question. How did just 10 young men outmaneuver the entire security apparatus of a nuclear-armed nation? The failure began with an undetectable scout. Dawood Gilani, the son of a Pakistani diplomat and an American mother, used his Western appearance to hide in plain sight. He legally changed his name to David Headley and used a U.S. passport to enter India. Under the guise of opening a business office, he spent months mapping GPS coordinates and filming the city's vulnerabilities. While Headley collected data, the state ignored the warnings. U.S. intelligence had already provided the specific coordinates for the Al Husseini, the ship carrying the attackers toward the coast. No action was taken. In fact, the routine maritime monitoring exercises that usually protected these waters had been quietly suspended 2 years earlier, leaving the coastline effectively open. This intelligence gap meant the attackers arrived at the shore with a clearer understanding of the city's terrain than the officers tasked with defending it. These men weren't just recruits, they were products of a brutal conditioning program. Out of 32 candidates, only 10 were chosen for their ability to operate under extreme pressure. They moved in 5 coordinated buddy pairs. Each team carried satellite phones, multiple fake identities, and 3D digital maps to ensure they never lost their orientation in the city's dense streets. As the first shots were fired, the local police response was hampered by confusion. For hours, many in leadership believed they were witnessing a local gang conflict rather than a coordinated invasion. The mismatch in firepower was absolute. Local officers faced military-grade assault rifles and high explosives, while carrying outdated equipment and World War II-era rifles. The cost of this equipment gap was devastating. In the initial hours of the attack, Mumbai lost its top counter-terrorism leadership, including Hemant Karkare, in a single ambush. The lack of specialized gear and real-time situational awareness meant that the city's first responders were effectively walking into a slaughter. The attackers successfully converted crowded public spaces into kill zones. These scattered belongings at the CST station are all that remained of the evening commute for dozens of civilians. A feedback loop formed as handlers in Pakistan watched live Indian news broadcasts. They relayed the positions of police and guests directly to the attackers' satellite phones, turning the media into an unintentional scouting tool. While the gunmen moved with speed, the state's elite response was trapped in a logistical nightmare. The NSG commandos were ready in Delhi, but their transport plane was stuck hundreds of miles away in Chandigarh. The delays compounded. The search for a smaller aircraft, refueling issues, and the flight itself consumed nearly 8 hours before any elite units reached the city. Even after rappelling down into the fight, the commandos were blind. They had no floor plans for the hotels and absolutely no access to the CCTV rooms, forcing them to fight through unfamiliar terrain floor by floor. Every hour lost to a missing plane or a missing blueprint resulted in more casualties, as bureaucracy proved to be as lethal as the attackers themselves. It took 3 days of intense combat to clear the landmarks and secure the surviving hostages. The siege finally broke only after a series of high-risk room-to-room engagements. While commandos focused on the hotels, a roadside encounter at a local checkpoint changed the entire nature of the investigation. Officer Tukaram Omble lunged at an attacker's rifle with his bare hands. He absorbed a fatal volley of gunfire, but he held on long enough for his team to pull Ajmal Kasab from the vehicle alive. Taking Kasab alive provided the investigation with the names, training locations, and handler details required to trace the plot back to its origins. His confession directly linked the operation to international handlers, countering the claim that this was a local insurgency. The 60-hour crisis concluded with 176 victims and a total breakdown in public confidence regarding the city's maritime defenses. This revealed a vulnerability in the systems modern nations rely on for security.
Raw military power is easily bypassed if the internal bureaucracy is too rigid to respond to an agile threat. The specific administrative failures, siloed intelligence agencies, live media broadcasts of operational details, and logistical gridlock made a coordinated defense impossible. The events of 2611 serve as a reminder that a small, organized group can bring a major nation to its knees simply by identifying and exploiting the friction points in its own bureaucracy.